Hey guys, Ben here and welcome back to another video. Today we got huge DC and Warner Brothers related news to break down. You're not going to want to miss this video, so if you do go on to enjoy it, please be sure to leave a like and a comment and subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss any future DCTV videos later this year. Okay, so it's literally just come out via Axios.com. I'm going to leave a link in the description below that Warner Brothers Discovery, who own DC Studios, have actually gone in for first talks to potentially merge with a big rival studio. Now we're going to be breaking this down in today's video. We've previously talked about it was just a rumor, but actually seems like things might be moving ahead, and I'm going to talk about the news and talk about my opinions, why I think it's a really bad idea and why I don't want this for DC, and why it's just such big news in general, because basically we saw what happened with Disney merging with Fox. Fox literally became nothing. Fox is just a part of Disney now. You know, those films from the past like Star Wars, you know, it's all been engulfed by Disney, and I think the brand has been kind of tarnished. Like, you don't think of Fox as, you know, this big brand anymore, because it's not really, it's just Disney, and it's all, you know, under the guidance of, you know, the big Disney overlords. And so I think the same thing would happen either way, whether it be Warner Brothers doing the merger, like taking over a studio, or whether it be Paramount, which we're talking about here because they are in conversations with Warner Brothers to actually merge. So either way, it would be bad. Both brands would be diminished. And so let's go ahead and break down this article. So this is a big scoop from them. So Warner Brothers Discovery CEO David Zaslav met with Paramount Global CEO Bob Bakish on Tuesday in New York City to discuss a possible merger. They've learned from multiple sources. So they go on to say why it matters. The combination would create a new news and entertainment behemoth that would likely trigger further industry consolidation. That's what you're already seeing. That's what we just talked about with Disney and Fox. It's consolidated them. There's less films and TV shows that are going to be made. There's going to be less diversity in terms of those projects. It's going to be all under the guise of just one studio, because Disney is the ones controlling Fox. So, you know, there is less Fox films because they don't want to spend all their money on Fox films and they can make Disney films. So that is what the consolidation aspect of this is all about. So Zaslav has spoken to Shari Redstone, who owns Paramount's parent company, about a deal already, and WBD's market value was around 29 billion as of Wednesday, while Paramount's was just over 10 billion. So any merger would not be of equals. Obviously Warner Brothers is the bigger company here, it's the bigger studio, and Paramount is less, so you would have to imagine that Warner Brothers would take over Paramount rather than the other way around. And so that means, you know, you would have Paramount properties within Warner Brothers, which obviously is valuable in terms of getting more assets, but like we said, it's just not good, like, as a industry thing, because this is just going to bring down the levels of actual great content out there. So the meeting between Zaslav and Bakish, which sources say lasted several hours in New York, took place at Paramount's headquarters in Times Square. So the duo discussed ways their companies could complement one another. For example, each company's main streaming service, Paramount Plus and Max, could merge to better rival Netflix and Disney Plus. This was actually a rumor a while ago that they were actually thinking specifically to merge Paramount Plus and Max. Obviously, Paramount Plus has Star Trek and some good content there, but I would argue Max probably has more, and that's because Warner Brothers is just, you know, slightly bigger than Paramount, and it has a lot of great IP. Obviously, DC is its main IP, along with Game of Thrones, along with lots of other content like Harry Potter. So it would make sense if they were to merge it to try and better a rival like Netflix or Disney Plus. Obviously Disney's now got Fox's stuff on there. Netflix hasn't done that yet, but they engulf and like take in so much content that's not just necessarily theirs straight away. So that's just Netflix's business model that really works. And so apparently it's unclear whether WBD would buy Paramount Global or its parent company, National Amusements Incorporated, but a source familiar with the situation says that both options are on the table. So now this is where I find it curious, because it's been reported recently that Warner Brothers is quite heavily in debt. So I'm wondering, how is this going to be beneficial apart from thinking in the long term about, you know, acquiring IP from Paramount and having access to what they have? But in terms of financial thinking, like, I don't know how it's going to work out for them if, you know, they're in serious debt, they're having to cut back on so many projects, they're having to do tax write-offs, which obviously have got a lot of blowback recently. But I just don't understand this. Let me know in the comments down below. Do you actually think this makes a lot of sense? I don't think it makes a lot of sense. That's why I was quite surprised when I first heard about it. But knowing Warner Brothers and David Zaslav, like, I mean, he can just do whatever he wants, I guess. And apparently Warner Brothers is said to have hired bankers to explore the deal. Obviously they'll have to see if it's legally possible. There was a big thing with Disney and Fox back when they merged. Like, they weren't sure if it was going to get approved through the American government because they are two big companies and there's always a lot of logistics that goes into actually merging big companies. You know, you got to get the lawyers involved, you got to get bankers involved in terms of looking at the numbers, how it would all kind of merge together, and if it would work or if it's definitely not going to work from the outset. They would find out all of that before the deal actually goes through. But between the lines is the next section. The deal could drive substantial synergies, this is what they say. So WBD could use its international distribution footprint to boost Paramount's franchises, while Paramount's children's programming assets could be essential to WBD's long-term streaming ambitions. So yeah, that's true. Paramount does have quite a lot of content in terms of, I believe they own Nickelodeon, and that would obviously bolster what Warner Brothers has right now. Obviously Warner Brothers is quite good with animation, and you know, bringing that to their streaming platforms like Max obviously is going to be beneficial. Like I said, more content the better, but financial wise, does it make sense? That is the main question. But yeah, of course Warner Brothers can boost Paramount's franchises if it was in control, but like I said before, the content will be diluted. There will be less Paramount content because they're going to focus on what Warner Brothers normally does, and there would be more films if there was two separate studios rather than just like one studio. Also, apparently CBS News could be combined with CNN to create a global news powerhouse. CBS crime dramas such as NCIS and Criminal Minds could be combined with Investigation, Discovery, and True TV. Also, you have to remember that Warner Brothers merged with Discovery not too long ago, and that's actually where David Zaslav came in. And although it's not as impactful as, you know, two big Hollywood studios mixing together and merging, it still, I think, has diluted Discovery despite them adding it to Warner Brothers' name. But it would be great if they could have access to CBS dramas such as NCIS, which do huge numbers, and other shows on the network. Like, maybe that's one of the things that could kind of drive them to think, okay, if we get access to CBS, maybe we can, you know, actually bolster our TV show numbers. Maybe our DC shows could go live on there rather than just having Max as our only outlet, because clearly the CW is not working out for them. Wasn't making enough money, but CBS gets eyeballs, it gets views, and so they could be seeing CBS as like a big asset. And apparently Paramount right now is not in a good situation, as it is under enormous pressure to find a strategic partner or buyer, as it's staring down a mountain of debt, just like Warner Brothers. But obviously it's different because they are a technically smaller company than Warner Brothers in terms of money. So the firm's stock jumped 12% earlier this month following a report from Puck that Skydance Media was eyeing a potential deal with Paramount, and they could buy a majority stake in their parent company. That would obviously be a big thing. And in terms of behind the scenes, one source familiar with the discussion says that the strategy being considered mirrors Zaslav's blueprint for prior mergers. But this isn't going to be happening for a while, because this is the first apparent reported conversation between the two of them, and they can only explore a new deal next year, that being Warner Brothers, because there is like a certain tax provision in America where companies, they merge, and obviously that happened between Warner Media and Discovery. Apparently that actually expires next year, so that would legally allow them to explore other deals if they want to take in Paramount or any other kind of company out there. But Paramount and Warner Brothers are declining to comment in terms of what's going on, but talks between them are still at an early stage. But I thought I had to report to you guys because this is big for DC. Like, this could actually have an impact on DC Studios, especially if things go south. Like, imagine if things go badly and DC Studios doesn't get the funding and the support that it needs, especially as they're building the DCU. I feel like this is just super risky. Obviously, David Zaslav and Warner Brothers are thinking in terms of the bigger picture. They're not just thinking like us fans, where potentially there could be jeopardy for our certain projects like the DCU that we're all looking forward to. They're thinking about, okay, we're not in a good situation with money right now. We know we're in a bunch of debt. Could taking in a big studio like Paramount with all their big assets, is that going to be helping us in the long term? And apparently it looks like, according to Warner Brothers, maybe that's the case. Like, maybe it actually will work out for the best for them if they were to merge with Paramount. But this is huge news for Hollywood, because it's not really good news when you hear of two big studios merging, because like I said at the start of the video, we would be losing out on a lot of TV shows and a lot of films and a lot of different projects that would be made if they were separate, because, you know, they got to produce enough content to actually make it worth it to run the studio. And obviously if they merge together, it's going to be under one head, and there's not really going to be like a significant uptick in the amount of content that they can make, because they're not going to be spending a bunch of money on that. They're still going to be worried about like the amount of money that they're spending, and I bet you we're going to see more Warner Brothers tax related cuts, just like we've seen with Batgirl being scrapped, and they tried to throw away another film recently, but that obviously got a lot of backlash after the strike, which was really good. So we'll have to wait and see, but that is the news for today. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed it, please be sure to leave a like and a comment. That would be greatly appreciated. Also, subscribe and turn on notifications to get notified every time I upload a new video. But for now, you can click on the top right corner of the screen to watch my latest video, and I'll catch you guys later. Goodbye.
I see